In this case, you be the moose, and you will have a nice bonsai. Hi, I'm miltonchang of Bonsaiheirloom. I chose this area because behind me, I have azaleas blooming profusely. You can see the colorful, multicolor camellia that I brought back from Oregon. And these are the florist azaleas that I have from the 6-inch pots I divided. And then these are the sunbird, the redbird that blooms almost 2 months or 3 months, 4 months out of a year, sporadically in the beginning. So the first question was about what do I do with this birch tree? A moose has been eating it in my garden, and it's a fairly short tree. How do I turn it into a bonsai? I thought that is an excellent question for me to elaborate a little bit. First, let me address the audience's question. Birch is not particularly a great tree to make into a bonsai because generally there are two problems. One is that generally they are acknowledged to be short-lived, 20, 25 years or something before they succumb to diseases. The second problem is they sucker. So you have a tree that's growing nicely, and then pretty soon they send out suckers. And that's kind of a difficult to make it into a part of your design unless you constantly get rid of the sucker and focus on the main trunk. In this case, after several years, this gentleman's tree is about 7 inches in circumference, and which it's a pretty big birch tree. I would say that will make an excellent bonsai to put in a pot. You can enjoy it for a few years. Again, I encourage to go out and buy a, let's say, Chinese elm tree, which is readily available in all nurseries, and you can cut it back, and it will branch out, and it will be long living, and you will have a much enjoyable tree. What excites me about this question is that this is an excellent question for bonsai beginners, and it's not so much about the birch tree, but rather that's what bonsai is all about, is that if you take a tree, you continue to clip it, in this case by the moose, it will be kept short and stocky and makes a good bonsai. And in your case, you can be much more controlling, in sense you have better control of the destination of the tree. So begin with a vision of how tall the tree want to be, cut a little bit lower, let it grow into that, and you will have your ideal tree very quickly. So that's what this bonsai all about in the clip and grow method. You clip it to size. In this case, you be the moose, and you will have a nice bonsai. So thank you very much for the good question. The next one to say, thank you for the video. Do you care much about bonsai styles, cascade, formal, upright, boom? What is your opinion? Well, you know, I really actually don't care. What I do is that when I get a tree, I study the form and find the curve that I like. It could be a cascade, it could be upright, it could be anything. But I follow the nature of the tree and then make it into whatever tree. In a way, all of the style that you mentioned are people looking at nature and trying to emulate it. So I follow nature, and whatever it may be. And I think that makes my trees doesn't look uniform and have a variety, and it's a lot more interesting. How many trees do I have? Well, for bonsai, I have lots and lots of trees if I want to be staying in business or making it into a sizable business. But in terms of the bonsai that I have, my old trees, I would say I have about 75 maybe. And then I have probably 100 in the ground in pots that can become substantial bonsai. And then, of course, I have a lot of the production bonsai trees. And also, I continue to propagate them because propagation is such a fun thing to do. How old are some trees, and what are some of the oldest? Well, as I mentioned, the California juniper is about, call it 50 to 125 years per inch of growth because it grows in one direction. It's like a slice. And so some of my trees can be 1,000 years old without exaggeration. But most of my trees are about 25 years plus whatever the tree I bought them at. Let's say that can be 5, 10, 15 years added to that. And then I work on them for 25 years and they became very nice trees. But then again, I have some younger trees. For example, the shohin are really easy to make. I can go and buy a nursery plant, 1 gallon or 5-gallon tree. I can turn it into a nice little bonsai, just by the first sitting or in 1 year for sure. So it really depends. Come to think of it, I would say the older trees can be as young as the small trees and still look nice because it's the same amount of time. You start with a certain trunk size or some certain height, and then you create a ramification to have the age look, developed look. Nice video. Please tell me what time of the year do you work on the pine? Pines actually can be worked on any time of the year, at least in the mild California weather, because they almost never stop growing even in the winter months. So I think the rule is that any time when the candle, usually the candle are all about the same, growing at the same time, and when they came out to a certain height, you cut it, and then you do it several times a year, or say 2 or 3 times a year. Over time you'll have uniform size length needles and full ramifications. So anytime 2 or 3 times a year, depending on the growth of the candle. If you remove the whole candle, would it back bud or would the branch die? I don't know what you mean by back bud, because pine trees generally, if the bud is not there, you're taking a chance in a sense if a little green is not there on the branch. If you cut it below that, you're taking a chance nothing will come out. Unlike elm tree, you can just about cut it anywhere and it will back bud. That means shoot out anywhere. So what I would do is that I will always cut it above some green growth. Could be needles. Ideally, it's also a branch. But if you cut off where the the candle is, right below the candle, usually there are little buds right there, and it will shoot out. And if you cut it even a little lower, with some of the green needles left, it will back branch out. Yeah. Is it possible to create bonsai brugmansias? Well, I look up the web to find out what bonsaiforbeginners is. It turns out that's just a flower trumpet. Well, I have that a couple of times. They are really quite beautiful. It's a landscaping tree right next to a wall. But the branch tend to be very green, very well, in a sense of very soft wood, and then they also die back quite easily without proper watering. So I don't think and also the leaves are huge, so I don't think it's appropriate material for bonsai. There's plenty material to make into bonsai than challenges like that. I planted with great wisteria in my backyard and want to remove it. I had an air layer twice, but was unsuccessful. Is there a way to harvest some of the roots and trunk and be successful? Thank you. Love your video. Well, thank you. In fact, just for that, I would do a video on digging up a wisteria in a very not distant future. Right now, it's got very long shoots and a lot of flower buds. So I'm going to wait for it to see blooming before I cut it. In fact, I'll do it next week, which may show up in 3 weeks or so time frame. Yeah, you can dig wisteria this time of the year in a sense of springtime. In California, you can dig it for quite a long time, but in a sense of from fall to now. But of course, you want to dig up as much as roots you can. But what happens is that you will see very big, tender roots growing out and not much fibrous roots nearby. So to be safe, you may want to dig it around the tree and dig it out over time in a year. And then when dig up a part at a time and dig it all up in springtime and then plant it or late fall. I would say springtime, that's the easiest, safest. And then you can work on it. I believe you can grow from root cuttings. That means save every little piece of the root because wisteria tend to sucker, which means it will root out. In fact, I have one that died off the main trunk, and then the sucker came out, and the first year they're starting to flower. So it's you can definitely do root cuttings, and you can do cuttings, but I found it quite difficult to root, and I went to the web, and I think the descriptions you need to take very tender shoots in the springtime, in a sense that during the growing season, or semi-softwood, softwood or semi-softwood to make a root by misting and all that. So it's not easy, but I think air layering and the root cutting may be the easiest. But be very careful because quite a number of these wisteria that are commercial are actually grafted, so the root may not give you the same flower as the top. So if you worry about it, do either softwood cutting or air layering. Do you any blue or purple Japanese ghost maple? So I would like to know more about soil pepper combination and soil type for the tree. Well, I'm sorry, but creativity is endless, and people come up with these weird names that isn't really quite true. Like I haven't seen any ghost purple leaf, a ghost or purple leaf maple. I think they're variegated leaves. I certainly haven't seen the purple leaves, so I guess very dark red, you can call it purple to sell your tree, but I wouldn't worry about it. I'll be more worried about the leaf size of the maple. In the next Q&A, I will talk about how to reduce the size of maple leaves, but I'll focus on probably green leaves, maple, or dwarf maple they're small leaf to start with, and work on that. So with that then, thank you. I hope you encourage me by rewarding me with the like and subscribe to our channel. And do send us your email address so that we can put you on mailing list for announcements when we're trees ready for sale. So thank you very much. I see you next week.